President Xi Jinping has arrived in Riyadh to kick off a 3-day visit. The Saudis pulling out all the stops for a red carpet welcome, and initial agreements worth almost $30 billion are expected to be signed this week. It's being hailed as a breakthrough in Chinese-Arab relations. To talk more about that, I'm joined by Howard Stoffer. He's a professor at the National Security Department at the University of New Haven. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. So tell me, do you think the United States should be concerned about this meeting? Washington, of course, right now has strained ties with both Beijing and Riyadh.
Well, I think the United States is going to watch very carefully, of course. I wouldn't say that our ties are strained, but, you know, there was the meeting of the G20 in Bali, Indonesia, a few weeks ago, and President Biden had a 3-hour meeting with interpretation that made it an hour-and-a-half meeting with Xi Jinping, and I think they worked out the means of trying to get along competitively, but not hostilely. And as a result, our talks with China continued on climate change. It continued with the defense ministers talking to each other, and now the Secretary of State will be going there to China to continue this dialogue that we have with the Chinese government.
And it has been described as really a breakthrough in Chinese-Arab relations. China, as we know, already the biggest consumer of Saudi oil. What kind of cooperation do you think we're looking at moving forward?
Well, you have to remember, 2 decades ago, because China was a communist country and Saudi Arabia was such a religious center, there were almost no real relations between the two parties. Things have changed dramatically. I think Xi Jinping has finally started traveling. He was in, COVID lockdown for the pandemic for 3 years. He met with Putin at a Astana summit a few months ago. And of course, he went to the G20 summit meeting in Indonesia. This is a major trip for him. This is going to open up and guarantee the oil resources that China needs, especially when they move away from their COVID lockdown. They're going to start resuming their manufacturing and their economic cycle once again. And they're going to be needing a lot of oil. And they buy about 17% of all the oil produced just by Saudi Arabia alone. He'll be meeting with the Gulf state leaders and the other Arab leaders, and will probably be purchasing under agreement even further amounts of oil, which is essential for the Chinese.
Can we call this a diplomatic triumph for the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman? There will also be other Arab leaders taking part in this summit. It wasn't so long ago he was being described as a pariah by Joe Biden. He doesn't seem so isolated now.
Well, President Biden went to Saudi Arabia this summer. We thought that maybe things would get back on track. And then, of course, OPEC Plus decided to cut production by 2 million barrels a few weeks ago. And that was incredibly difficult for countries in the Western Hemisphere, particularly the Europeans who are suffering from oil cuts by Russia for this coming winter, and for the United States as well. So that was regarded as sort of an unfriendly action. Unnecessary is the way the president put it. So I think Xi Jinping is stepping in and trying to, solidify China's role in the Middle East, and particularly among the Arab countries and the oil-producing Arab countries.
Howard Stoffer, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.